Hello everyone, day 56 at the Academy of Natural Living, continuing with my experiment. And this is just a quick one to share with you what's happening. You can see I've, I'll find it here in a second, come up with a bit of a pimple on the side. And I did give it a bit of a squeeze, which is why it's looking a bit red. But what is that? What's happening? Well, it's actually protein poisoning. So protein poisoning manifests in the body in the form of pimples, boils, carbuncles, and ulcers. Eventually these types of things suppurate and they start oozing pus and blood because it's proteins saturating or present in the bloodstream that shouldn't be there, or in the interstitial spaces of the body that shouldn't be there. So they're foreign proteins, or they're just simply too much protein or partially digested proteins that somehow made it into the body there, and that can happen through a number of ways. We'll talk about that in a second. And they just simply have to be gotten rid of. And so bacterial action will break them down and they'll be pushed out, usually through the surface of the skin somewhere. But it doesn't have to be through the skin, it can be through a mucous membrane, it could be anywhere in the body, or a serous membrane. So protein poisoning. And what happened was I actually overate the nuts a bit, trying to get some calories in or something in that I felt I needed, and I overate the nuts because in my salad, while I was having half an avocado, which is probably about that big, about half an avocado, in my salad of a cos lettuce, which is about that big, and 2 big fat tomatoes and some, the end of a cucumber, which is about this long and this fat. I had the half avocado in there, and then I'd throw in like a pinch grab, like just that much of sunflower seeds sprinkled round, and then I'd have a little handful of Brazil nuts, and then a little handful again, not a big handful, but just a little handful, of macadamia nuts. And also too, I wanted a few different textures in the salad, We've been having pretty much the same salad, with a few variations here and there. And so I just wanted something a bit different. But over the course of 2 or 3 days, I think I overdid it a bit with the nuts. So it's very easy to do, very easy to overeat the nuts. And these are good nuts. These are quite fresh because I got them from an organic store. And I did check them before I bought them. They were quite fresh. So you have to check those things and make sure they're not rancid, because once they've been cracked, they go rancid very quickly. So the best nut is one you take out of the shell. However, we're talking about protein poisoning, so I did overdo it. And basically all I did was overload my digestive capacity. So the capacity of my digestion to digest and deal with that quantity of nuts, plus the avocado, plus everything else, was just too much. Someone else might get away with it. Not me. My digestive system is relatively weak compared to a lot of people's, especially with all the hammering I've given it in the course of my bodybuilder days. It was just never designed for that task. So, yeah, I have to back off on that. So another thing, you can also get starch poisoning. So starch poisoning arises when you obviously consume too much starch. Now proteins, if your digestive system can't deal with them, they putrefy. So through the action of bacteria, they actually break down and rot, and they produce all sorts of toxins, which can enter the bloodstream, and you get an autotoxic effect happening. Starches ferment, and sugars, if you eat them beyond digestive capacity, they also ferment. So you get carbon dioxide, alcohol, and that in turn is broken down into acetic acid and what have you, and you end up with the basic acidosis in the body. Acetic acid also affects the thyroid, so it depletes the thyroid, and you have all sorts of other effects. But starch poisoning, and when the body gets too much starch and fermentation starting to happen, what will happen is the body will have a catarrhal discharge. So a catarrh is basically a type of a mucus type discharge from a mucous membrane if it's within the body. So usually it happens at the nasopharynx, or your nose starts dripping, while you're eating a meal or after a meal or something like that. Or it might come out through the surface of the skin in the form of flakes. So dandruff in the hair, psoriasis, eczema, some type of dermatitis on the skin is basically a catarrhal discharge through the skin. So these are some of the things that can happen if you eat beyond the digestive capacity of your own digestive system. And that could be because your digestive system is simply degenerated, so it's suffering from inflammation and a general breakdown of its tissues and the glands within it, or it's simply enervated. That means there's not enough energy, a vital force within it in order to do its work properly and correctly. And usually we have a combination of both happening, which is why we go on the 2 meal a day plan and the 18-hour fast in between, excuse me, is so that the digestive system can have rest and a chance to regenerate. Now I'm actually down another ½ kilo, so I'm 56.5 kilos at the moment. That's the lightest I've ever been in memory, other than when I was a little kid, obviously. And but I have to remind myself that the body is still repairing its foundation. I've only been doing this now for almost 8 weeks, or about 8 weeks now. So there's a lot of repair, a lot of rebuilding to do. You can't expect it to happen overnight. And 8 weeks is certainly not long enough for the foundation to be anywhere near complete. So it's still really progressing. And we tend to want to rush things and want to start building the external appearance, the frame, the external looks, when really it's the groundwork which is still being done, which the external shell is going to be put on top of. So the muscles, the skeletal tissue, while it's necessary, well, we need it to a general degree, it's not as essential as our vital organs and our nervous tissue, which is why these things are preserved during fasts, and this thing is, our fat and our musculature is generally lost during the fast, because the body uses the least valuable tissue first and conserves the rest and goes about using that material to regenerate the rest. So you've got to allow the process to happen, and it's easy for me to get scared. I'm losing weight, but I think I've still got a little bit of a bicep happening there, so all is not lost. There's a little bit of energy left in there if my body needs it. So don't panic, but I think I, maybe did a bit trying to eat a few extra nuts, but it's consistent and persistent work and staying on this track and believing in yourself, and let the foundation rebuild, and from there everything else will take care of itself. So hopefully that was helpful. The new year is coming, so happy new year, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.